Good evening, everyone. We start formally today meeting, which is the course overview for Data 650. And we are running this meeting in the beginning of the semester for altogether for the bot section, a section of Data 650. We have two sections with two instructor and two TA. So the today hosts are the faculty team for both section, which is myself, Elena Gorcheva, Professor Gopati, Professor Ozan, NTA, Elena Baitinskaya, and Linish Dave. And I would like everyone to present himself shortly, just few words about me. Besides teaching, I'm managing the whole Master of Science in Data Analytics, the whole curricula, and updating and trying to get synchronization between the courses. So we prepare you with a whole set of skills which are relevant to get a job after you finishing this program. So in addition to teaching this course, which is, let's say, my passion to teach, I'm managing the program. The course in both section is gonna be organized in the following way. 90-40, Professor Gopati is gonna teach the first part. I'm going to teach the second part. First part is first 6 weeks. Second part is second 6 weeks. In 90-41, Professor Ozan is going to teach the first 6 weeks. I'm going to teach the second 6 weeks. Elena Baitinskaya is the TA for 90-41 and Linish for 90-40. Just I want to say a few words before each of them present themselves, that Elena and Linish are actually a product of our program in data analytic and database, and they actually are very close to you guys. They've been studying not long ago in our program, and they evolved like a product of our program. They are applying their skill and knowledge to help you to fit better in completing this program. So with no more, I want that everyone present themselves, getting in the order you see here in the screen, starting with Professor Gopati.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. I think I've met most of you already on the discussion forums, at least for my section. This is my second year teaching this course. As Dr. Gochev already said, it's a very intense course. The 12 weeks are going to be covering at least 4 different topics. Or 2 4 different topic areas, and at the end of each topic coverage there will be an assignment. A little bit about myself. I've been doing research on neural networks and decision making for almost 20 years now. Currently I am a principal data scientist for a large healthcare company, and I use a lot of big data analytics, use the big data computing platform and tools to work with healthcare data. That includes both structured and unstructured data. I do a lot of NLP on the unstructured data. And the goal is to be able to predict and forecast different variables so that we can reduce the overall cost and improve patient outcomes. I have very closely followed the course content. Usually I am I'm able to give you feedback very quickly on any issues that come up. And as I already mentioned, the sooner you get started with your assignments, the better, so that we can quickly work through the technical problems and you don't have any backlog and deadline issues with the deadlines. So I look forward to working with all of you. And I hand over to Professor Azam.
Azam?
All right, do you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Can
Yes.
you hear
You
me?
should unmute
Yes.
yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. So my name is Ozan, and I have been working at UMUC for 4 years at now. And I have been teaching 601, 602, and 605. And this is my second time teaching this course. Thanks for the Professor Elana and Gopati for their suggestions for the course. I'm sure it's going to be a very successful semester for everyone. In addition to this background, I have been working in the IT industry for 8 to 10 years right now as a project manager and Scrum Master. And I have been teaching in online and classroom platforms for almost 20 years. I have been teaching mainly statistics-oriented courses, and try to help my students for their assignments, for their grading. That's all I have.
Moving on, Yelena.
Hello, everybody. I see some familiar names. So I've been a TA for about 10 years, starting from GBST, then transition to data analytics. And I've been a TA for this course since it was offered for the first time. So I'm familiar with the whole story. And in fact, most of the TAs in this program have been my students at some point. So I guess Dinesh is going to be next. Dinesh?
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this course. And Professor already kind of introduced that both Yelena and I have been student at some point. Of course, I've been student of Yelena as well while she was a TA. So yeah, I've been one of the initial products of this program, and as such, do want to kind of share a couple of things that may be very helpful for you, since I have been a student of this course, of this program earlier. And then just, before that, I have also shared, my credentials, my introduction. I kind of provided that in the discussion post. So would not kind of go over all of that, but just to kind of give you a brief summary, been in IT for more than 25 years now. And, after doing my bachelor's in computer science and engineering, I did my, master's in in technology management, and in the latest being the master's in data analytics from UMUC. So I've been part of the telecom industry, ever since, mostly, for the last 25 years or so. And as a student, I can tell you three things, right? It's going to be very important as being a student of this course that, as Professor Gopati also mentioned, start working on the assignments early. And I cannot tell you enough how much important that is. That's the key here. Guys, so avoid procrastinating and leaving everything for the weekend. Because remember, you are going to be working on an enterprise level platform that cater to real companies outside, right? So their maintenance windows and downtime are often during the weekends. So starting early, will also give you some time to enhance your solution and make it an A-grade submission, which is so important for you all, right, at this stage. And secondly, I would say make Google your friend. And I mean it, right? I mean, for any problems that you might face during this course or program, try to find a solution yourself first. There's a lot of information and documentation that is available on the internet that you can leverage upon. And remember that you are pretty close to the end of this program, and very soon maybe working somewhere if you're not yet, and you would be on your own to find solutions for any problems that you may face. So, get onto that habit as soon as possible if you have not yet. And last but not the least, ensure that you have read all the materials that is provided in this classroom. You'd get a lot of information and insights to work on your tutorials and assignments. And additionally, read all the discussion postings, that is free knowledge, shared by others. So take advantage of that. Okay, so with that, good luck, everyone, and I look forward to working with you all. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, Linish. Thank you, everyone. So we continue with the plan today. The agenda is quite ambitious. We are going to outline quickly the course content, and most importantly, the grading, some miscellaneous issue, and week 1 activity just to introduce you, because regarding big data, and of course Q&A, which is the main reason you are here, is not just to listen what we are going to say, but you can pose your question immediately in real time and get them answered. So about big data, you have been hearing for the whole duration of the problem, and even before in your professional life you are living. For the last 10 years, 15 years, we are hearing big data, big data. They have grown so much, and each company has a lot of data, and they rely on this data, how to get insight of this data. If we try to formally define something, it's not just about the volume of data. This is, let's say, today, the less important thing, the volume of data. We're talking about more about the approach and the technology to deal with data which are getting so complex to store, to search, to share, that we need new approaches and new technology, new architecture to deal with this data. So when we refer to big data, we mostly refer to the technology of big data to manage data which is already not manageable with the existing technology, with the existing data architecture, with the existing search mechanism, with the existing sharing mechanism, with the existing visualization techniques. So when we talk about big data, keep this is very important. We mostly refer that we need new approaches and new technology to deal with the complexity of the data, new tools, new analytical method, and of course, at the end of the day, this has to transfer to a new set of skill data analysts, data scientists must have in order to deal with this complexity. So I'm stressing very much is about the technology, the approaches, the architecture to deal with big data. And as a data scientist, data analyst, you will have to learn new skill. I have 2 or 3 slides which are mostly overview of what you have learned already in other courses about the volume of data, about the increase of data each year, about the processing complexity, and how it has evolved very interestingly with the appearance of different type of size and complexity of data. New technology appeared to deal with them. So when YouTube, Twitter, Facebook produced this exabyte of data, new technology like NoSQL, Hadoop has appeared 10 years ago to deal with this type of data. So everything goes in parallel here. The data, the size, the complexity, and the need to deal with this data, and the involvement of new technology which help company to get insight of this data. This is actually in very compressed way. I try to explain what you have learned up to now about big data in the program. I want that you pay very much attention to this picture here, because nothing in life is black and white. When we talk about structured and unstructured data, we have to keep in mind that the structure of the data is one of the important characteristics which bring difficulty and complexity to deal with with data and to get insight of data. So the structure of the data is very nice when you have the data organized in row and column. But unfortunately, in real life, this is not what is happening. Most of the data is unstructured, or in between, how we say, it's not black and white, it's gray color. We have all these semi-structured and quasi-structured data, which in principle are unstructured data in the sense they are not organized in row and column, but then with some effort, they can be organized in certain way, so it's easier to get processing them and get inside, which happen with the semi-structured data when, for example, you can find some pattern in HTML data in the web page and define a schema. When you are able to define a schema, you start talking about the structure. So this is about the semi-structured data. The quasi-structured is not so easy to get them to some more, let's say, easy way to get insight for them. For example, you can work with web clickstream, and you can find with some effort, you can get to some format of this clickstream. And as soon as you get some format to the clickstream, you can much easier get insight of the data in the clickstream. So this is what is in between. The big chunk of data today, where the value is and where each company is sitting on as on a gold mine, is the totally unstructured data, which are all these free texts you can find in each of the document in the web and Facebook and Twitter, totally unstructured text, the same natural language we are talking English, and video, audio. So our main focus today in big data analytic is not only our, but in industry, is in this bottom part, which is the totally unstructured, which at this point we have no meaning to create a schema, to get some, let's say, formatting of this data, to get insight. We have to deal with this data in totally different fashion. And since this is the focus today for all the businesses to find value of all these free text, video, audio, this is going to be our main focus in this course, because we are going to try to learn what is relevant today, right? I want this very clear. Here I have some example in this slide. I would suggest you go back every time you try to solve a problem and try to define your problem, look to the data you have and try to classify, can I get some schema of this data? Can I get some organized way of this data? Or I have to deal with them in totally unstructured fashion, which is to understand natural language, to understand what is in this video, audio, in totally unstructured data coming on, which is totally different approach. Of course, if you can define a schema, if you can define some structure, it's much easier, because these are methods which already exist, and you can just get them and apply them to your data. The most difficult work today for data analysts, data scientists, is to get insight from unstructured data, because although there is a huge advancement in the technology, a lot is available, but this is more developing area right now, and this is the most challenging, and on the same way, the most interesting part. You have to work as a professional in data science and analytics. And I want to stress that this interesting part of unstructured data is mostly related with natural language processing. It has been big advancement on this area, although language is so complex. We already have a good advancement from technological point of view. Why so complex? I have some example here with bulleted point, so you can reflect in the complexity of the natural language processing. If you look to each of the bullet here, for instance, how can a house can burn up as it burns down, right? And so just speaking this for us in speaking is difficult to understand and interpret at first this sentence, and think about how we can, let's say, train the machine, the computer, to understand this natural language, so they can process this data and get insight of this data. So the complexity of the natural language is the key of the processing of unstructured data. Very simple example I have here in the bottom, where the same information is organized as a structured data by column and row, when Welch is working, is a person working in organization General Electric. Now, this is in structured form. You can easily identify this in the table. Now, if you are provided not with this structured form, if you are provided by the sentence which I have to the right, if leadership is an art, then surely Jack Welch has proved himself as master painter during his tenure at General Electric. So you understand the nuance here of natural language, which is using symbolically the painter work, mastery of manager. And you understand that all this nuance, if we want the computer can interpret correctly and actually get insight from the data, we have to do a quite complex word, because even as a human, when we read this sentence, we have to reread 1 or 2 times in order to understand what that means. And this is just to show the complexity of natural language processing and how it is a base of the today evolvement of big data. What has evolved from big data today is what is the contemporary artificial intelligence. How it has happened? Classical artificial intelligence in the 50s was defined as a, let's say, as a computer program or a computer which can substitute human, or a robot which can substitute a human, mostly mentally and physically, of course. That was the classical definition. Of course, it has been for many years going on deep research on this, good advancement, but today we are very practically trying to do what the technology is helping us and is ready to give us as a data scientist, data analyst, to provide some, let's say, benefits from the data. And how is this happening? With the availability of big data, machine learning has evolved and has proved more reliable. Why? Because if you can train a model with a lot of data, you can get closer and more reliable predictive model and more reliable result. So machine learning has evolved with big data, and machine learning is the heart of today contemporary artificial intelligence, which the main goal is to augment human capability. It's not to substitute human capability. So in this case, when you read contemporary AI, you can think about augmented intelligence, which reflect exactly what we think today when we refer to artificial intelligence. And all this, integration presented in this graphic is what is actually the today content of big data analytic course. We are going to apply machine learning with big data, evolving to what is artificial intelligence, and to solve problems which any of the industry today demand, and the advancement of the technology permit to do that. So I want very clear that you understand in this course why big data has evolved to what is today artificial intelligence. Of course, it's not the same. I have another graphic which try to clarify. Data science is the bigger, broader term, which uses as a methodology either artificial intelligence, which on the other hand, use machine learning and deep learning, which is a subset. So you can see in this graphic how deep learning is a subset of machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence, and artificial intelligence can be an approach of data science, but it's not 100% match. They intersect. Data science can use other methods, other approaches, not just the artificial intelligence technology. So I want this very clear, and this is what we stand today, and this is the way we are going to prepare you. Of course, you understand this area is immense, is very extensive, and in a single course, we can teach a limited number of topics, which we have selected the most important today, in order to fulfill a course like Data 650, which is part of the Master of Science in Data Analytics, developed in what is the philosophy of competence-based course. What that means. All courses in the program are competence-based, and Data 650 is not an exception. What that means. We are going above and beyond on what you're going to get from the reading material. You read, you understand, you learn. And then the next step is prove and apply that what you have learned have some purpose. So you have to apply what you have learned, and so you show that you can do something with what you have learned. This is actually what is the competence-based approach. And as such, we don't have exams. We have 4 written assignment, discussion, and additional topic. This is the way most of the courses in the program have been going, and this is the way this course is going to be. So you will have opportunity to learn different software, because as we mentioned, the thing on big data is the approach to deal with data. And in order to apply what you have learned, you will need to use a different software tool. And the software tool we use in big data analytics are a little different on what you have learned up to now. We need some high performance. We need Hadoop, Spark. Evolving Hadoop is, let's say, the historical tool to manage, just to manage big data. Then evolution, Spark to do machine learning with big data. Then we have next evolution dealing with textual data, analyzing sentiment, application, which are important for industry based on machine learning with big data. This is in broad aspect what is this course about. And when we talk about competence base, I want to mention here that actually everything designed not only in this course, in the whole program, is based also in advisory board. We have with different industry like Booz Allen, Lockheed Martin, and US government, IBM. So most of the skill we are trying to teach you what the industry today is required. The industry today require the data scientist, data analyst can easily pick up a new tool. Why is this important? Things have evolved. It's not this old story. You learn Java, you are Java programmer, and this is for life. This doesn't exist anymore. And why everything evolved? New tools, more powerful, which facilitate your job as a data analyst, a data scientist. But on the other hand, you will have to learn how to deal with this new tool. So this skill to learn more new tools is part of the teaching we have in this program and in this course. Part of the teaching is new tool. So you, as soon as you finish the program, you can mention many tools you have been using. Of course, you are not master of these tools. You are using them on some introductory media level, because by the time you are able to complete a project, there is no more time in a single course to go to the mastery level. Mastery level is above and beyond in the software, I mean. Is above and beyond of the course, and it's up to you the time and dedication you will devote to study the software. Of course, we are very proud how our students present themselves. I have excerpt here of some achievement already the program has as a student winning competition. The program named Outstanding in a different technology organization. Of course, I will be sharing this slide so you can overview all the bullets with time instead of me mentioning each of every one of them. I want to save time for question. So here is an excerpt just to get the big idea for everything we have been talking of the schedule, which you can find in the syllabus. And you can see in the last column that we have several walkthrough. What that means, that we are going to do, let's say, online meeting like the today meeting, in which we will try to help you, to walk you through a new tool we will be using to solve problem. For instance, we will be walk you through to Spark, to sentimental analysis, and to cognitive analytic to deal with chatbots, for intelligent chatbots. So you can see they are scheduled at some point when we go to new topic, and this is the way the course is going to proceed. I have selected some important slide, which I would suggest you go back every time you have doubt about the data you are working, and why the today approach is quite different of what was before 15, 20 years ago, dealing with the data warehouse, proceeding to analytical sandbox, and today software as a infrastructure. So this graphic very well represents the new approach of big data analytic. Before, data analyst was requesting, for instance, in the IT department to deploy a data warehouse to run a report. This still exists, but this data warehouse is quite expensive, takes at least 6 months to be built for you, and then when you have it, you run this report, but that's it. As soon as you want to do something different, you have to request something else. So that's why the approach to deal with big data has advanced to something which is graphically represented here to the right, which is you have all the tools in the cloud, okay? And you select whichever you would need to do the task you are going to do. You will have data management tool, you will have visualization tool, you will have machine learning tool, you will have high performance computing to deal with big data, you will have everything, and you will select as a data analyst, data scientist, whatever is needed to solve the analytical problem, because at the end of the day, this is going to be your job. You have to you will have a task, and you will have to define how you're going to solve this problem and how you're going to interpret what you did from the result of the computational tools. As such, we are going to work in the IBM Cloud Platform from the next assignment, which is Spark. For this first assignment, we still are not going to the IBM Cloud. You have two options. You will have the option to do pseudocode, apply what you have learned, or do it in the Azure, in the Microsoft Cloud. Most of the thing after week 2 will be in the IBM Cloud, where we are going to use Spark, wide columnar high performance DB2, which is to do in memory analytics, very new and very advanced technology. We are going to do sentiment analysis there. And then we are going to go to what is cognitive analytic. We are going to use Watson Cognitive, which is this AI part. You're going to build artificial intelligence application at the end of the course. The course is really exciting and packed with a lot of material, with a lot of study. Here I have a screenshot of the cloud platform, which we are going to move to this next week, and to what is actually practically what I represented 3 slides ago about the today contemporary approach to deal with big data. Just as advancement, this is going to be what is named today the Watson Studio. In the Watson Studio, you have access to the RStudio, Python notebook, high performance computing. You will have a Spark to do machine learning, and you will have the community to share any information, because data science is going toward open source. So this platform in the cloud is in this modern today fashion, working open source with Python notebook and in Spark to do machine learning on big data. We are going toward this in week 3. And the cognitive part is going to be the last 3 weeks of the course, let's say, when we are going to use what was presented by IBM as a Watson cognitive computer, which won the Jeopardy game. Then it evolved, this expensive supercomputer evolved as a services in different area in the cloud in very reasonable price. So anybody with reasonable resources, any business can have today access to these services, which are just the evolvement of the Watson for different application. And we are going to use some of them in the IBM cloud to build artificial intelligence supported application, which are actually the main interest in any industry today, starting with HR, financial, healthcare, you name it. So summary of the assignment. The first one is going to be age-based, how to manage data, big data on Hadoop ecosystem. The second one is the hot Spark machine learning. Then we go to the sentimental analysis using using in-memory analytic, high performance DB2 with very advanced blue technology. Is named blue from nothing, it's just blue technology. We will study this later on, and you will analyze Twitter data for sentiment. And then we are going to this artificial intelligence chatbot in the last quarter of the course. This is to get idea what is this course about and how to deal with this. As Linish mentioned and my colleague mentioned here, is very important that you, this course is 6 credits in 10 course. You have to start from day 1. There is no other way to succeed in intense course like this. And of course, the grading policy is the same, which is the same like for the whole program. If you do what the assignment is asking for, you this is graded as a B. You meet the expectation, and your grade is somewhere 85, 88, between 80 and 88. You did what you were asked. In order to get the A, to go above 90, you have to go above and beyond the minimal assignment requirement. So that means you need to do research, and you have to do really some exceptional beyond work in order to get the A. And this is always in all the courses. I just wanted to mention this so there is no misunderstanding. They are very important issue in the miscellaneous issue here related. I would like to any of my colleagues to stress of them because I can miss some of them. And it's very important. We respond with 24 hours. That is our goal. And we are keeping our promise. So, but you also, as a student, you have your responsibility to maintain professional communication way in the discussion with your colleague, with the professor, with the TA, and keep in mind that the TA is not to do your work, is to help you, and to help you with question which will let's say clarify something which is not totally clear in this complex matter. But you cannot expect that the TA is sitting there and the next minute you are going to get answer for the TA. That is not the way it is. And I want to stress on this issue. So I'm leaving the word to Gopati Ozan, Yelena, Linish to elaborate in this miscellaneous issue, and then we proceed to Q&A section.
Yeah, okay, I'll go first. Thanks, Dr. Gorcheva. I think the last point she made are very important. Your report, if you want to get a B, then of course you try to meet the requirements, and you answer the questions, and you do your work, and you submit the required files. If you want an A, you have to go far beyond that. In fact, your report should be substantial. You should show some creativity and originality. You should show that more than absorbing the material, you have also learned enough to do things on your own. You can add more research. Usually, what I have seen students do in the past to get an A, or first of all, finish all the required exercises, but also attempt and try to finish all the recommended exercises. And then, for example, if the requirement is to develop a prediction model, and your model is not performing well, then you show us that you can actually code other types of models, so something like that. But your report should be substantial. So that is very important. And one more point I want to make is If the minute you run into some technical difficulty, you are most welcome to post in our discussion forums or to even email either the TAs or the instructors. But please do not open a ticket directly with IBM. Okay, this is happened in the past, and it gets very messy very fast. So please do not directly contact IBM for technical help. We need to we need to make sure that it is not something that you are not doing right before we decide that the fault is with IBM and that there's something wrong technically with their system. And so you have to first approach us for any technical difficulties, any technical issues, and we will try to walk you through. Please follow the advice and suggestions that we give. Follow our steps faithfully, closely, and if you still have a problem, then we will either one of us will open a ticket, or we will tell you to open a ticket. So that's the point I want to stress. And I'll let Professor Ozan.
Yes, thank you very much. So one important thing that I want to add is the importance of announcements. I definitely suggest all the students read the announcements very carefully. Also read the description of the assignments very carefully. The requirements are very clear in most of the assignments, but if it is not clear, it is okay to send an email, but make sure that you read it very carefully first of all. And if you have any questions about the software, first of all, as the professors suggest in the previous minutes, please read review the Google, try to get the response to your questions, then reach out to us. And our TAs are really very good, very experienced, and very knowledgeable. They can respond all of your questions, but they're only here to help you to clarify some questions about the assignments. Again, the announcements are very important. Yelena?
Well, I was going to say that the key to success is to start early. Do not procrastinate. Yeah.
Okay, and what I will add is just read through all the postings again. Once again, a lot of free information. I mean, there's a lot you could learn from each other, and maybe even learn what others would have faced. I mean, the difficulties that you may not want to get into, or to kind of avoid that, right, while working on your tutorials or assignment. So read through all discussion posts. It really is there's immense information there. There's a lot of knowledge sharing that goes on during each week. So take advantage of that. Yep, that's it from me.
Well, if there are questions, we are in the Q&A part now. You can unmute yourself, or you can put your question in the chat. Let's see. There is a question if you can do assignment 1 in AWS. We don't have instruction for this, so I leave this to Gopati. Gopati, can you, the question is privately to me,
okay,
from one of the students, if we can do the assignment in AWS.
Yeah, students have done that in the past. You can if you want to, but I would suggest you try option 1 or 2, which is the theoretical exercise, or Azure. But if you are confident you already have an account on in AWS and you want to do that, then please submit a code for me to test.
But the thing is, I want to open parentheses. You cannot expect help if you go in other platform, which is not the one we described the assignment.
Yes.
You cannot expect that your question will be answered.
Yeah.
I mean, this is in your own, let's say you decide to do this yourself, you will have to deal with this yourself. We are helping only in what are the instructions. I don't see more question. Yes, starting week 3, all the work will be in the IBM cloud. And let me tell you, is there all the cloud let's say platform, mostly for data analytic work, the IBM, the Azure, the AWS, they are mostly the same. The interface is slightly different. From analytical point of view, not as a cloud, you know, each of them has different advantages. AWS has the most customer because they are the top cloud provider. But as a data analytic tools, the top one is IBM. So we have them in the cloud, and this is the today stage. Azure is very comparable with IBM. Both of them, actually, we don't have preference. Azure or IBM today as a cloud platform with analytical tool for big data and analytic are in the same level. And there is no big difference. The thing is, for a classroom, you have to choose one of them, because the only viable way to provide instruction to teach student is working with the same software in the classroom. So this is not just in this class, this is in all the classes, this is usual practice in education, and you don't miss anything. It's just slight interface difference between Azure and the IBM cloud. And mostly the power of the analytical tool is comparable. AWS is another story. They are behind in analytic, although they are packing all the tools which are needed since they are powerful cloud provider. Whatever you want from them, they will give you, but it's not the best in the way open data science goes. So that's why, from point of view of data science and analytic, IBM and Azure is no preferences. We just choose one of them, which is preferable for several reasons and practically more viable in the class from analytical point the same. And at the end of the day, as a practitioner, as a professional, you will have to work in different cloud. Learning in one is giving you the base to learn to work in the other one. It's slight difference in interface, and that is it. So, any other question regarding this? Yes. Now, I appreciate, Choi, that you continue doing the question to everyone, not only to me, so everyone can see your question. Yes, you will have access through the rest of the MSDA program. When you go to your capstone, you still will have access. And the good stuff is when you open IBM Cloud account, you don't need to put a credit card. For Azure, still you have to do that. So, of course, you understand that academically we have, this is not like you open the pipe and you have all the resources. You have some meter, which is metering whatever you are using, and this is the normal stuff we will have to learn. And this is one of the skill which is required today for any data scientist or analyst to be able to work in the cloud. And this is part of the stuff. You will have to learn how to work in the cloud, how to manage the resources assigned to you, and what will happen if you don't manage them correctly. That means you have to strictly follow the instructions until you really learn. And learn to work in the cloud is the same way we live our normal life. You don't have the water pipe open all the time. You open, you use it. You don't use it, you close the pipe, right? And the shower, everything. The electricity, you have control of the humidity and the temperature in your house. When you go for vacation, you set your thermostat differently that the time you sleep. So all these approaches to deal with commodity, cloud is commodity you are going to use instead of your personal computer, you will apply the same approaches just to the cloud. And these are part of the skills you will learn in this course, how to work effectively in the cloud, because this is today demand and requirement in order to work and to get a job in this field. Everything is in the cloud, private, public, on whatever is in the cloud. Any other question? Different services, when you go to the cloud, you will see the description of the different services, what is
Oh, the
or
question
what
is
is
the question.
available. It's not the size of the data actually restricted. The thing which are mostly is the computer power.
Oh, I see.
But this is in any cloud. It doesn't matter if it's AWS, if it's Azure, if it's the IBM cloud. It doesn't matter which cloud, because this is not just you open and you use it. These are resources. And the thing is, why the cloud is today so effectively accepted by everyone, why the cloud has proved effective. Why? Because we use shared resources. We share resources. When you share, you have to care about how you use resources. It's not just because it's academic or not academic. It has nothing to do with academic. It has to do with using shared resources, mainly. And you will learn this. You will learn that each service is described, what it implies. You can use, for instance, for Watson Studio, from the cognitive, you can use 10,000 API for 1 month, which is plenty to do any student work. Of course, if you are a company, you know how much you will have to pay for this 10,000 API to do, for instance, natural language processing, to do, for instance, to personality treat, and any of the services which are provided, tone analyzer. Each of these is and this is just the key of the cloud environment. Cloud is effective because these are shared resources And as such, we have to act accordingly. They are rule, and we have to learn this rule. And as soon as you learn the rule, everything is fine, and everyone is on board, because you cannot get something very inexpensive if you have to have something. You understand? You have to have some limitation. And this is the key of sharing resources. This is the key of the cloud. Cloud is effective because share resources. Any other question? I don't see question more in the chat. Anyone want to say something? Gapati?
No, I don't think so. I think we covered everything, unless there are more questions.
Well, if we don't have more questions, then we can end the meeting, I guess. I am right? Yes?
Okay.
Linesh, do you want to talk about the competition or?
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, definitely.
Oh yeah, I
Thanks
totally
for
forgot.
reminding me about that. But so folks, there is going to be a Kaggle competition, for this semester exclusively for you. So and I'll kind of have a video introduction to the competition. So that would be put up very soon. But first and foremost, want to make sure that you get your feet wet and to get into the course. Get through at least your assignment one within the first couple of weeks. So before it gets a little crazy with all of that. But so we'll kind of introduce that. You have a couple of months to work on that competition, but remember, this is, and some of you may already know what Kaggle platform is. Even if not, I'll kind of give a little short introduction to you, in that the whole kind of a not a webinar, but kind of a video introduction to this whole competition. So it's still a very simple and easy data set, but it will help you to gain a maximum of up to 3 points to your final score. So it could make a huge big difference between going from C to B or B to A. That could make a lot of difference, or even to just confirm your A grade in this course. So take opportunity of that, and get. I mean, you could be prepared. Get ready to work on further more complex computations on that platform in future. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for reminding me about that.
I see a question. If there is a link for student to get to the IBM account, the link will be provided next week. We don't want to distract you for the first assignment. So that's why when the time arrives, the link will be provided. Don't rush it to the IBM account. Just stay in sync with what is assignment one. We are going to do this next week. The link will be provided next week, especially for how students from UMUC can get to the IBM cloud. If there are not more questions, thank you everyone. I'm going to stop the recording.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. Good luck, everyone, and good night.